Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And whenever you are tuning into this video, my name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And welcome to another very special edition today of Ruthless Talk. It's springtime. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. We got March Madness. We got baseball season. Baseball is freaking back. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. But of course, there's WrestleMania, which is, I want to say, less than 20 days away as of right now. So there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of juicy stuff to go on in the WWE realm of things. And before we get started, we're going to jump straight into it. I want to take this time to shout out Sullivan or Saban. I once again, I botched his name. I'm going to get it right, my man. I'm going to get it right. I did it at the start of the show. But Saban, I want to shout out to you. As well as the Wrestling with the Homies podcast. He had the pleasure, or I had the pleasure for him to come on to the show to talk some SmackDown, to talk some Mercedes Moné, to talk some AEW. So much love to him and much love to the Wrestling Homies podcast. Make sure you guys go check them out. All of their information is in the description in the last video. So if you haven't checked last video, make sure you guys go check it out. All of their stuff on social media, their podcasts and everything. They do really good stuff, as well as great interviews, again, with people like freaking Big E, Flop Dollar, again, Top Dollar, if you know him from freaking TNA, known as AJ Francis. Again, always got to poke some fun over to Top Dollar. So, but much love to those guys, man. Like I said, in such a short amount of time, they've done a lot, and they're good guys, man. So definitely show them some love. Check out their podcast and follow them on social media. So shout out to them. So let's dive straight into it. So usually when we start off these shows, as you guys know, it is probably, by the time a lot of you guys check the show out, it is probably going to be late on a Thursday. Shoot, it could be this weekend. Who freaking knows? But we're going to change things up in regards to the show. We're going to start off with Monday Night Raw. There is some stuff for AEW that we will go over. We will go over that towards the end of the show. But I do want to start off with Monday Night Raw, as definitely a mixed bag with this show. Once again, you know, I've said my piece about Monday Night Raw as of late, and it's kind of just been, yes, the same thing in regards to promos, face-to-faces, but again, there's more of a mixed bag, at least for this week. So let us start off with the contract signing. There was a contract signing for the Intercontinental title. This was Sami Zayn and Gunther, as they had a contract signing. Before the contract signing started, you had Chad Gable backstage with Sami Zayn. You know, Sami Zayn went up to Chad Gable. He's like, listen, it was an honor to have that match with you freaking last week. It was great. And Chad Gable's like in distraught. He's like very distraught, obviously, because he lost the match. And, you know, the shtick that he's been doing, like, it just means more to me. You know, of course, talking about his daughter and how in the match when he had with Gunther, he pretty much was like laughing in her face when she was at ringside for the matchup on Monday Night Raw. So Chad Gable's like, this just means more. And Sami Zayn's like, you know what? I've heard you say that a lot as of late. And listen, like, you don't think that this means to me? Like, listen, I also got a family to provide and everything else. Like, you don't think this just means more to me as it does to you? As they kind of just went back and forth, and pretty much just being full blunt, you can't beat Gunther. And that's where, you know, had that Sami Zayn had a little bit of a moment there and then walked off. And then we jumped into this contract signing. And we'll talk a little bit about Chad Gable, as he's definitely going to be having his hand in the cookie jar with this entire shtick here, this entire matchup for WrestleMania. So this contract signing, and again, a nice, decent back and forth, pretty straightforward in regards to it. You know, Gunther's out there with his suit and all, and he's making fun of Sami Zayn, how he's like, listen, how, like, I'm dressing the part and here you are looking like all these other freaking bums, freaking in this t-shirt, a freaking sweatshirt and everything, right? Again, Gunther, I give him credit, dude. Like, this dude has been rock solid on the microphone as of late, at least doing his part to a degree. You know, and Sami Zayn, he cuts this very passionate promo. He's like, you don't think I can beat you, right? It's like, I could see that smug look on your face, and it's pissing me off. Like, you don't think I can beat you? Listen, I main evented WrestleMania, won tag titles against one of the greatest tag champs, the Usos. Like, I did that, and I'm going to do the same thing and make history by taking your championship away from you. And Gunther's like, has this smug look on his face. He's like, listen, you know, freaking, even deep down, these people know it, you know it, that you can't beat me. You know that. So I like the passion from Sami. And Sami's always like, he's always had that. And you kind of had that extra amplification. And you've had it throughout a lot of these other segments, which we'll get into, but Sami Zayn got into Gunther's face. It's like, you could see the look from my eyes that I'm defeated. I know that I can't beat you. Well, look again. And freaking got right into his face. And, Sami Zayn says a couple more words. He walks off while Gunther stays in the ring. And it was a cool camera shot where Sami Zayn's like walking through Gorilla and into backstage. I thought that was a kind of a cool camera shot. And then Chad Gable and Sami Zayn, they interacted once again backstage. And he's like, Sami's like, listen, I want to know why. Like, why do you think I can't beat Gunther? And he's like, your actions out there prove my point. He gets into your head, like he's getting into your head, mentally. He's like, he's a different animal. He's a different beast. And, he's like, that's why you can't beat Gunther. And they had this little moment backstage. And then I believe it was Sami Zayn who walked off. And that was the segment in regards to all of that. So that's a lot to start off the show. But Brian, I'll have you start, man. I'll have you start in regards to this contract signing, as it seems like that Chad Gable is most likely going to get involved in this matchup for WrestleMania. It seems like they're going to do something, and maybe in regards to Imperium maybe getting involved, and then Chad Gable will kind of be, maybe that helping hand, and who knows, maybe that can tell something down the line between Chad Gable and Sami Zayn in the future, because Sami Zayn should win this championship. Because like, what other pay-per-view outside of WrestleMania? This is the biggest pay-per-view of the year. And you have one of the longest reigning Intercontinental champions of all time, and he's not going to lose this championship on this big stage. Like, I just find that really hard to believe. Like, you wouldn't have this pay-per-view, this show, to where Gunther doesn't drop that championship, to where he's going to eventually, he's going to go to the main event scene. And I think as of right now, WrestleMania, there's really no other better moment than right now. So Brian, man, your thoughts in regards to Zayn, Gunther, Chad Gable, and this whole contract signing?
I mean, I like what all three of them are doing right now. And Gunther, Gunther of the three of them has been just, damn near lights out for over 2 years now. Or, I mean, he's, each month, each week, each year, whatever. I mean, he's just getting better and better, to where everything he's doing right now is pretty fucking awesome. They're building Sami back up, and Sami, he's shown us glimpses that he has it. He can carry a main event type story. And I think they're trying to get Gable there. As to the segment, I was fine with it. I liked it. I love the passion with Sami and Gunther being Gunther. I'm just like, again, I've stated this before. I'm always more thinking like long term, and I'm just thinking, I agree with you. I think Sami's going to win here, at Mania, and given how Gunther has reigned, and just like, it would mean more to it would. I think it would be better for Sami, and also mean that much more to Gunther's character if it's a clean loss, like not, anything like that. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, if Gable was to get involved, I mean, I'm just like, it's one of those things where I think Gable's just gonna, again, be kind of the odd one left out, where like, and again, this is just my creative of how I'm thinking with the stories you're telling right now. So say Sami beats Gunther, so he's now IC champion. If Gable says, this means more to him because of everything he did with the family, then it's not about the title. So then he's got to continue that feud with Gunther. But Gunther's, he should be going on to the main event scene. So it's not like he could take an L coming out, coming out the gate.
Yeah.
And then if you put Sami and Gable in a feud, well, then was it about the IC title, or was it about your family? Like, it's just puts you in this odd spot that, like, okay, let's see how you're going to get out of this one. But to the match of Gunther and Sami, like, I think it's going to be a fantastic match. I do expect Sami to go over here and become champion, and I think that's the right call. And I think Gunther has to, elevate to the main event picture here.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, it's time for Gunther to be in that main event picture, because if it's not after WrestleMania, like what other place would you have him drop that championship?
Right.
But yeah, in regards to Chad Gable, man, like it's because you're right to a degree in regards to like if Chad Gable were to now feud with Zayn, it's just like, okay, was this really about Gunther and the IC title? Well, you can kind of say like the narrative now changes to where, Chad Gable, he's trying to get that culminating moment to dethrone Gunther, but now it's Sami Zayn enters the picture. Now he's the ultimate he thought he was the ultimate babyface, the character that, or the people, or the wrestler that fans can get behind, right? They wanted to see him dethrone Gunther. Now here's Sami Zayn, who's also portrayed as the ultimate underdog, the top babyface, and he takes that spot away from Chad. So now you can say that the narrative changes now to where now it's more personal with Zayn from taking that moment from Chad Gable away from him, to where you could possibly see a heel Chad Gable.
That's what I was going to say. You would have to turn Gable heel, which then like his whole character then fucking like he couldn't play the gimmick like I'm doing this for my family and be heel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's what's interesting, because and again that's a road that they could possibly go to in regards to it. But
I wouldn't mind seeing a Gable heel. I mean, that could probably be work as well. I'm not saying it would be bad,
because you can see like kind of similar with AJ Styles and the OC, and even with Rhea Ripley and the Judgment Day, like Chad Gable is like kind of, as of late, I mean, it could change to where he's distancing himself from Alpha Academy as of late. He's not really much around with Otis, Maxine, and with Tozawa as of late, so that could maybe, you can push that along somewhere in regards to Chad Gable like being almost like obsessed to this point, to where like, this means much more to me. Like I have to beat Gunther for my family. Like now I'm also obsessed with Zayn because he's taken that spot away from me. So we'll see in regards to it. But yeah, I mean,
that would be interesting though, if you turn Gable heel, I could be down with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think and obviously it comes down to how they do it, what it leads to in the future, as well as, can Chad Gable, can he pull off that shtick, which he can, but also can people boo Chad Gable is also the question. Now, we've seen him in that annoying little comedic freaking heel shtick. We've seen that before.
This would have to be something different.
But this would have to be something different. So could fans, boo this guy? Because he is very well liked and he's very well respected within the wrestling world. So that would be an interesting toll as well, to turn Chad Gable heel, but he's not really getting heel heat because he's just a very well liked wrestler right now. So it's a lot of interesting questions in regards to it. But in regards to a clean finish, man, I still don't believe there's going to be a clean finish. I think
I know. I mean, you would at least see Imperium, I'm sure, and that makes sense if Gable comes out to have Sammy's back. But I just think it deserves, I don't know if that's the right word, but I just think it would be better with a clean finish, man, and give Sammy that moment. And then also, you could also play, I mean, Gunther's also one of those guys that kind of in his character would, I wouldn't say would, but you could believe that he'd be an honorable loser. Like, you defeated me. This is what I've been waiting for, and you defeated me. That would work with him.
That would work, right? No, absolutely, absolutely, and he would lose no credibility or anything at all. But we shall see in regards to it. But so, I mean, this was very simplistic. It was very simplistic, but it achieved what it needed to in regards to it. Nothing over the top, nothing that crazy. But the little more hidden details with Chad Gable, kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of fits with how simplistic but yet effective this contract signing was. Freaking Gunther, he's got that smug look on his face. He's like, listen, at WrestleMania, your dreams will meet your reality. Every time you get to this mountaintop, you always come crumbling down. And Sami Zayn reminds me, listen, I main evented WrestleMania. I won tag titles with my buddy Kevin Owens against one of the best tag teams in the world, and the Usos. Like, I did that, and now my next moment, my next obstacle is dethroning your title reign and taking that Intercontinental title from you. So So we'll see in regards to it. It's just, I wish that, again, and I've said it before, I just wish that we could have gotten a number one contender by now instead of getting a number one contender last week, and really diving more deep maybe into this whole Chad Gable, Sami Zayn situation. Because now going into next week, we only got maybe 2 more weeks left. So, but we'll see.
I don't even. Is it 2? Because today's the 21st.
Yeah, I believe that next week we have Punk. Punk is going to be at Raw for Chicago. Right. That's how I remember it for next weekend for Punk Chicago. That's the 25th. And then, the next week after that is the go home. Is the go home show to Monday Night Raw. So 2 weeks. It's just, and like I said, I beat a dead horse about it. It's just, man, it's just weird how, at least for the Intercontinental title's sake, and it's great with Gunther, he's doing his part, he's doing well with the title. It's just, man, the fact that you just developed a number one contender now versus maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe before Elimination Chamber. And, you did the whole shtick with Jey Uso, and I get it, to kind of further along Jimmy. It's just, the Intercontinental title itself just deserves more of that prestige of really building and having a more broad type of, storytelling instead of just maybe 2 to 3 weeks. But
I gotta say to that point with Gunther, and you see it on the internet, is he the best ever? And obviously WWE drives home the point, the longest reigning champ ever. I'll give it, personally, I don't think he's the best ever, but I will give him credit for this. He's made that title more relevant than it's been in 20, 25 years, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure different generations have they remember their IC title, but just as far as the prestige and the importance of it, back in my day, man, when Savage or Bret Hart or Razor Ramon or Shawn Michaels had, or Stone Cold, that was, you were number 2, man. You were number 2 in the company, and you were the workhorse, and it meant so much. And he's brought it back to close to that. So shout out to him, man. Absolutely.
No, for sure. Absolutely. So, hopefully, things go accordingly. Sami Zayn, regardless if you guys like Sami Zayn or not, whether you agree with the decision or not, Sami Zayn needs to win that championship, because for Gunther's sake, it's time for him to evolve to that main event picture, to take on people like Seth, take on people like Cody, to take on people like CM Punk in the future. So it's time, man. It's time for Gunther. It's been time. We've seen enough from the dude that this dude can hang, and then this dude can also put a storyline on his back, as well as do his part. So it'll be interesting to see again how Chad Gable and Sami Zayn, how they prolong, how they maybe can continue to plant seeds for a future feud. Does Chad Gable turn heel? Does he maybe just, who knows? Do they also plant seeds of him further distancing himself with Alpha Academy, kind of similar with AJ Styles and OC? We've seen that before. Now the OC, I don't know what the fuck the OC is doing. They're freaking on NXT. I don't know, but hopefully they do that. Hopefully that would be a really cool element, because he has been distancing himself from Alpha Academy. So you would think you'd want to, no pun intended to Roman, but acknowledge that. So we'll see in regards, but good stuff from Sami Zayn and Gunther. And, hopefully that consistency continues, especially with Chad Gable involved, because a lot of that can be damn good for sure. All righty. So before we get into the ladies, as that was going to be the second topic for this Raw review, I do want to quickly get into Seth and Drew, as they once again had a face-to-face interaction. Drew McIntyre, his music hits, and then immediately after, Seth Rollins' music hits, and he's freaking he pretty much taking away the spotlight, and that's pretty much the whole gist of this this promo of Seth Rollins. He's making fun of himself, I'm Seth freaking Rollins, and I'm a spotlight junkie, right? Kind of he's pretending to be a maniac. Oh, I crave the spotlight, what Drew was mentioning over the last couple of weeks. And he says, listen, man, listen, I've been in this business for 20 years. So you're damn right. I crave the spotlight. I love when I come out, fans, they sing my song and all of this other spiel. Right. And, he says to Drew McIntyre, says, listen, the difference between you and me is that when the lights are brightest, I shine. When you crumble and you fall. And that's what's going to happen at WrestleMania in regards to it. So again, a decent back and forth. And again, I'm not going to sound like a broken record either. I've stated that I've already seen many of these face-to-face segments. I'll make this reference, right, Brian? It's kind of like any type of movie to where the movie itself is good. Like, this is really, really good. But then you get to the ending of the movie, like to the ending of like the segment for this segment, and it's just like nothing really hits. It just ends, right? And it's just that's just what I feel like we're constantly doing with these segments, to where, yeah, the interaction's good, but then you want that ending to where like you're hooked. It's like that ending kind of cliffhanger in a way to like end a segment. But they kind of just say a bunch of words, and then Seth Rollins kind of just walks off. He says his last few statements, and then he walks off, leaving Drew in the ring. And I'm just like, again, man, where does this pick up outside? Because again, I have no problem of what's said in this promo, because both of these dudes are doing tremendously well, especially Drew. Drew McIntyre has been telling his story, even with Punk.
He's telling two stories. Yeah.
Two stories.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's all like, and
even kind of, if you want to say maybe even three, he's still a little tied with the bloodline,
True. Yeah.
I wouldn't really put that in there, but definitely two.
Yeah.
He's telling two stories.
Yeah. And I've even said this to on social media, like, you take The Rock and you take Drew McIntyre, and how just so tremendously well they've been able to sell themselves and to sell the story that they're in. Like using social media, like to sell your character. You don't see that at all. Like from a lot of these people, even Cody and Seth, like you're not seeing.
I wonder
that
if we're going to start, like, this is now going to start, it's because they got to see the results in this, and
right.
More and more storytelling, which, hey, and they're going to Netflix and shit, Yeah, I don't know, man.
No, like,
I dig it.
Because Drew is, because I'm telling you, man, like that's how, like, you can sell. Because again, the Rock is doing this on his own time too. I hate that I'm changing narratives here, but like The Rock and Drew McIntyre, they take the time to develop this and to really make this intriguing for fans. Like, I can't, like, honestly, like personally, I can't wait to when CM Punk comes back.
I know
that feud with frickin' Drew, because what Drew is doing by himself, as well as with The Rock. I mean, The Rock is on social media for 20 plus minutes, frickin' 15 plus minutes. And this dude is hooking the audience with just his words and his believability and his mannerisms. And like, that's what it's about. But then, like, nowadays you see on social media to where, and I get it too, to like, it's not the late 1990s. It's not the early 2000s or anymore.
I'm going to have something to say about that.
I'll let you get your words in, bro. Trust me. But like, but nowadays it's just like, we're just, again, I get it. Kayfabe, it's fucking done. Like, I get it, man. But there's still lines that can't be blurred, if that makes sense, man. So like you see, like with Cody Rhodes, for example, like Cody Rhodes, instead of responding or doing something to do his part on social media or something with The Rock, his response is being on up, down, down with Xavier Woods and freaking Kofi, playing fucking video games or being a part of a video game. It's just like, what the fuck are we doing here, man? Like, The Rock is by himself to a degree, is trying to elevate this tag match that he's a part of that really shouldn't even be a thing, if we're all being honest with ourselves. But The Rock by himself to a degree is legit, is just making a shitty situation and making it gold, or at least trying to. And Drew McIntyre is the same way. Like, freaking, he's in his car blasting freaking CM Punk music. It's great.
Yeah.
And I feel like we don't see that enough from a lot of these wrestlers. They just show up, they just, and again, I'm not saying they're not passionate about what they're doing. It's just, but there's that extra layer that you got to take. And I'm sure that it just comes across that a lot of these wrestlers just don't want to take that extra layer, that extra step. But outside of all of that, and like I said, we'll talk a lot more about Punk and McIntyre in the future. And again, so with these segments, man, it's just like, it's a really good movie, right? The face-to-face, it's a good movie. But then when you get to the end, it's just like, nothing. It just kind of ends. It's like these segments just end flat, if that makes sense, right? Even the Cody Rhodes promo that we'll get to a second, to where it's like, okay, you got the handshake from Cody and Paul, but that was pretty much it. Cody's trying to like hype up the crowd. You could see like he's really trying to desperately hype up the crowd, like towards the end of the segment, and it's just like, yeah, you get a few handful of cheers. but like the segment still comes across flat because it's just like that's it. But outside of that, man, again, I never ever had an issue with what's being exchanged between these two. And, we've talked about it too as well. Drew McIntyre should and is probably going to win this world title from Seth Rollins. The bloodline is probably going to interfere in regards to it. That's going to send Seth Rollins off for maybe quite some time. And who knows when he comes back. But yeah, Brian, I'll let you get your thoughts in, man, at least real quickly before we get to the ladies, your thoughts in regards to Drew and Seth.
Yeah, I like your analogy there with the movie. I was just thinking more along the lines of like, it's like one of those your favorite movies that you've seen over and over, and you can just repeat verbatim the lines. Like you know what it is.
You know it's already good.
We've seen
exactly.
it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean at this point, yeah, I mean I love what Drew's doing. Again, even with the CM Punk references on the social media and whatnot. I mean, this is the best Drew's ever been in the last 6 months. His best, he was damn close, when he won that title and what, then fucking COVID and all that shit. But man, he's right there, man, and it's great to see. Really, it really is.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's even more special, honestly, like because he was never even supposed to be a part of the situation with the world title anyway. He was supposed to be a stepping stone to get to Punk, which frustrates me a lot because you see what Drew McIntyre, when you give him this opportunity and to let him rock with the character that he can soar with of what he's doing on social media, like we mentioned, it's just like that's what's frustrating. And listen, I like Punk and Rollins. That would have been, and it still could be special. They could still plan that later on, but for Drew McIntyre just to be like a stepping stone, man, it's just like, come on, man. So, but yeah, continue.
No, so, and look, going into like, The Rock and Cody and, people bitching about like Attitude Era. I got two of them right here for you, man. Cause like, look, while there are certain things obviously that need and should be left back in the 90s, what Stone Cold and what The Rock and to some degree DX and the NWO, what they did, that shit was timeless, man. Like you can plug a character like that, any, it's just timeless. It works because I'm not even going to get into why, but to see what The Rock is doing on social media right now and why it works so well is because you had Cody out here. Like you're trying to present this as this is a feud now, right? You're standing in my way. The bloodline is about to take over. And to a degree, I get where The Rock's coming from, right? You had Cody out here last week crying. Like, save that shit for when you win. Because, yes, to some degree, like, this is a very real-life story for Cody. And, yeah, those will be real tears that when he wins, man, and well-deserved, and that family's legacy. But right now, while you're telling the story and you're trying to be the guy that's going to take down Roman and The Rock.
Yeah.
When Rock came out there on social media, he was like, fucking crying? Are you like fucking beautiful, man? Like, exactly. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Dude, it was great. Oh my God, that reaction.
What he is doing with social media right now, I don't know. Maybe he just, because I'm a sarcastic, smart-ass Gen X asshole, I guess. But that like if you're going into a fight, man, and it means so much, like family legacies and what it means in wrestling and all this shit, and you're out here, it's just the Cody that we saw this past Monday, that's the Cody we need to see. Like,
yes
100%. Like say the emotion, the tears and the hugging your mom and all that's from when you win, man. But like right now, you gotta, I don't know. I feel like, yes, like out of all this, even with Cody out there every Monday night, Rock is selling this story, man.
Yes.
People can bitch and complain about, it's, and even to like LA Knight, like, he's just ripping off The Rock and Stone Cold. Look, he took something that works put his little spin on it, his little twist.
Yeah.
And he's fucking nailing it, So, bro, shut the fuck up.
Dude, yeah.
I don't know what else to say, but like The Rock is killing it, and all of them are to a degree in this whole scenario. But man, you want to talk about like who's bringing eyeballs and bringing money, and whether Rock has an advantage because he is at the board now? Sure, absolutely, that gives him an advantage. But goddamn, like he's doing his part.
Yes, that and some. Seriously. And I'll say more about Cody and everything, because I do got some words to say about Cody's promo, because you're right. I love the fact that Cody finally got serious. I love for him to get rid of that 5-piece suit every once in a while. But outside of that, damn good promo, and I'll get more into that later on. Sure. I even posted a TikTok about it too, which I'm sure some people have mentioned or have seen over the last day or two. But I'll get into Cody's promo, and we'll get into that. We'll finish with that to finish this Monday Night Raw review. But let's get into the ladies. Let's dive into the ladies real quick. So to end the show, there was a last woman standing match between Becky Lynch and Nia Jax, and decent little woman standing match between Becky and Nia. Match ends with a manhandle slam through the table, and then Becky Lynch finishes it off climbing up a ladder and doing a leg drop on top of Nia Jax, or on top of the back of Nia Jax's head through the table, and that was enough to keep Nia Jax down and win the match, and Becky Lynch wins. You had Rhea Ripley come out. They had a nice, or pretty intense, I want to say, an intense face-to-face as Monday Night Raw went off the air. No Liv Morgan, just Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch face-to-face. So they're still pretty much promoting that it's still going to be one-on-one as of right now. We've spoken about the fact that Liv Morgan could be involved. Nia Jax could also be involved. But as of right now, it's still one-on-one. That could change in the next week or two. But yeah, Becky Lynch with Nia, it's just, I don't know. It's just, we've talked about this double turn, which again is possible, because again, you heard it again from Raleigh, North Carolina this past Monday, to where this woman's getting cheered everywhere she goes. And you think at some point she's going to be turning face, and it's probably going to be set in stone after Mania. But it's just interesting in how, especially for Nia Jax. Now, listen, I have my takes about Nia Jax, and they're pretty opposite of yours, Brian. But I do feel a certain type of way about Nia, to where you have her go out there week after week and you portray her as this monster, right? She takes out everybody. She's taking out 2 people at once. But when it comes to these big matches at Elimination Chamber, right? And yes, she's beaten Becky Lynch before. I get it. But now this big last woman standing match, and she can't get the job done. So what's all of that hype and prestige of Nia Jax taking out all these ladies when she can't deliver the final blow?
Right.
It's interesting. And now with Liv Morgan, it's also interesting too. Like, does she get added into this? I mean, you would think, right? But I don't know. I mean, do they just stick with one-on-one? It's going to be interesting to see what they do in the next week or two. I'm sure you would think it would have to be next week if they're going to add a person or two in this match, because we got only 2 weeks left here. So, but what do you think, man, in regards to it? I mean, a decent last woman standing match. I mean, again, both of these ladies did their thing. I mean, I got nothing to really say anything bad about it from what I saw. These 2 ladies did their thing. I mean, as of right now, Becky Lynch is the one facing Rhea, so she has to win the match. It's just unfortunate, too, for Nia Jax's standpoint. But let me get your thoughts, man. Your thoughts on this last woman standing match. And does this stay one-on-one, or do you think Liv and Nia Jax get added into this?
Yeah, I've kind of done a 180 on this, because originally, I was thinking it was going to be at least a triple threat, if not a fatal 4-way. But having Becky go out there, I mean, it's been the last 2 weeks that she beat Liv and now has beaten Nia. So you would think, then why add them to the match, So I mean, now I would say it kind of looks like it's going to be a one-on-one.
Right.
And then there's, I don't know, because I do think I still think the double turn is happening. But to do that, then Becky has to win the match. She's got to become champion, because they're going to be cheering Rhea. it's not going to work to turn Becky heel if she doesn't win. And so that's where I'm hesitant about it, because and then I don't know. Then long-term storytelling. Do you then have Nia go after Becky with Becky holding the belt? Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I hear what you're saying about Nia. I do think, because you're right. She's obviously, like, how can you not build her as a monster? In the within the women's division, you have to. It's like, I mean, I would compare it to like a, Andre the Giant. What else are you going to do with him?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I would imagine. I mean, they could go that route. I just, like, me personally, I don't know. It's this weird conflicting thing where, like, I can't fully explain why, but I'd almost be okay with Rhea losing the match if it was like a triple threat, as opposed to her losing 1-on-1 to Becky. You know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, I think to answer your question, I think this is looking more and more like a 1-on-1 matchup, which, all right.
I mean, honestly, it really should, because I don't know how it's going to benefit Liv and Rhea if you're not going to have them win this anyway, because they're not going to. You're just adding in bodies just to add in bodies and to maybe protect some people, mainly just Rhea and Becky. With Nia and Liv, that does leave them off the card, but is it really benefiting them just adding them into this match? And once again, not getting the job done. Now, does that lead to somewhere with, I've spoken about Liv and Becky, if Becky does
or
turn heel?
Either one of those. Like, I think,
because that's a way you could turn Becky heel, because Becky, this was Becky and Rhea 1-on-1, and Liv sticks her nose into her business. And again, Liv, I mean, I don't see, unless I hear Liv getting heavily booed, which I know there's people have their certain takes on Liv Morgan, but she's still very well liked by the wrestling community. And if you want to turn Becky heel against Liv without the title,
that works.
Because with Rhea, man, it's just, because with Becky, like, does she really need this accolade to take out Rhea?
No, I mean, that's my issue with it.
It's believable. It's believable, right? Because you want the person to take the title from Rhea to be believable. But man, and because that's the thing too, to where they could possibly still have this title change and put this title on Becky, to where, because it's WrestleMania, right? This is like one of those, again, we talked about it with Gunther, to where it's one of those big pay-per-views to where, okay, if you're not having the title change on the grandest stage, then you're going to do it where? On a WrestleMania Backlash, a freaking, like, no, come on, man.
Right.
Especially to where, like, Rhea Ripley, and I get it, she hasn't, the title reign itself hasn't been great, but she's held that title ever since it's been a thing. So you don't want
to be a big, important loss.
Yeah, exactly. And it has to be to the right person. And I guess it would have to be Becky, though. But again, she just doesn't need it. Because she already has. She's already made, right? Because she's already made. She doesn't really need that accolade. But who else is really believable than Becky Lynch? Because we've stated about with Liv Morgan and how that's a really good opponent for Rhea Ripley, because the history, the story you can tell. But is it really believable for Liv to take out this badass freaking China type freaking looking character? You know what I'm saying? So it's conflicting, and it's interesting to a degree. So but yeah, we'll see in regards to that. And again, I mean, I've spoken my piece too about Nia and Jade Cargill. I don't know what's going on with Jade Cargill. I
hope she's healthy, and not that we've heard anything, but I mean, it is odd that she's.
I would assume that
happened.
I would assume that she's going to start getting the ball rolling with TV appearances after Mania. So I'm holding out until I say something.
You know what?
To that.
She'll make. Or maybe the Raw after. I could see her either doing something at Mania or the Raw after.
Raw after Mania, right? Because I'm holding out until then, to where we could see her potentially being on the show consistently, because it's weird how you made her debut at the Rumble and she's made an appearance or two on SmackDown and she's gone. Like, you don't hear anything from her now. So it's interesting on how that's going to develop. Is it the Raw after Mania? Is it the SmackDown after Mania? Because she's been on SmackDown more. So who knows with Jade, because I've said about Jade and Nia, like that type of feud makes sense for Jade
for sure
because of the Rumble eliminating Nia. So I don't know, man. There's still a lot of questions, some good, some kind of baffling, at least within this whole situation. But we'll see. We'll see in regards to it. But let's get to the final topic for Monday Night Raw, and then we'll jump into AEW to recap, and we'll end the show. So final topic is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes in this promo we cut. And yeah, damn solid, good freaking promo. Honestly, I'm so glad, Brian. Like, I didn't hear the whole, what do you want to talk about? Hey, Raleigh, North Carolina, what do you want to talk about? Like, stop. Put that to the side. Like, get freaking serious. I don't want to see you cry. I don't want to see you smile and look at freaking nothing, right, with your 5-piece suit.
Right, yeah.
I do want to see you get rid of that 5-piece suit every once in a while. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, you saw he was kind of mostly like in black. I don't know if that's kind of like attention to detail, like he's in all black, so that means he's more serious, right? So I guess in regards to that whole spiel, but so yeah, I mean, freaking Cody Rhodes goes out there. I mean, people say that he cooked The Rock. I don't know if he cooked him or roasted him.
It was good.
It was good, but I mean, if you listen to the promo, and I stated this on TikTok, to where like the insults, like he calls The Rock a whiny bitch. I mean, The Rock has called you a crybaby bitch. It's the same thing, right? He called The Rock Roman's side chick. Well, he's also mentioned with Seth, because Seth has been Cody's buddy, his partner as of late. He's called him Seth Rollins' little girlfriend, or Cody's little girlfriend, that is Seth Rollins. Still pretty much the same insult. You're just rearranging words. So I can't really say that he cooked this man.
Go listen to the 20 minute YouTube thing you did or whatever. For 20 fucking minutes he cooked their asses. And I'm glad
Brian, I'm glad that you mentioned that again with the whole social media thing. It's like, a lot of people and even wrestlers backstage have even said this, of like, they feel like they're at a disadvantage because The Rock is using profanity. I came across that in regards to it. It's just like, guys, here's the thing. When you are a legend in this industry, right? And you can take legend however you want to take it, because that's just what The Rock is, whether you like it or not. This dude has earned the right to, if he wants to use profanity every once in a while, and maybe, who knows, again, for the business standpoint, because you have to like blur things out, and for the networks, it's also hard for that. But The Rock has earned the right to use that type of profanity, and he's not using it as a crutch. It's just another added layer. I'm pretty sure The Rock can go out there for 20 plus minutes and doesn't have to rely on freaking profanity to carry a promo, because that's another bullshit statement that I hear too. But it's just that The Rock has earned that, and he continues to prove that, because of what he does on social media, because of the effort and what he's trying to do for this tag match, proves that The Rock, when it comes to building something, is just on a different level. And all these other people like Cody and Seth, to where, they can hold their own, maybe to a degree, but if you look at the pyramid, there's The Rock, and then there's just everybody else.
Sure.
And it's annoying, Brian, of like, everybody wants to come after The Rock. Oh, he's on the TK board. He's taking time away from freaking wrestlers because he's cutting this long 20-minute promo. It's just like, guys,
that was on his social media. That like
that as well as the Rock concert, like the Rock concert, and like the 30+ minute promo they did with Roman and with everybody else. But like, guys, like 20+ minutes by himself, like he has to go out there by himself to sell this match. And it's like, I don't think people understand how hard that really is to do. And The Rock makes this look easier than freaking anybody. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like this past Friday, he had no Cody. He had no Roman Reigns. He had freaking no Seth Rollins. And he said, no fucking problem. and he freaking killed it. I would have been fine if it was 30 plus freaking minutes, bro. But yet we're in distraught because, we're cutting time away from freaking wrestlers. It's like, guys, what the fuck do you want to see? Do you want to see Dragon Lee in another two more minutes going one-on-one with Santos so he could do more flips and dives and do more spots? Like, are we fucking kidding me? Like, we're going to put time for that. And like, what else? Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense, right? Like, what's the benefit of putting somebody like Dragon Lee that gets no reaction, by the way? And I'm just mentioning Dragon Lee just as an example, because well as everyone else.
You can name numerous people.
You can name numerous people. Exactly. You can name numerous people. Dragon Lee is just the first person that's off the top of my head, right? Would you rather see freaking somebody go out there, just have a good wrestling match to where we know that these people are good wrestlers, we know what they can do in the ring, but they get no reaction? Or would you rather have The Rock try to sell this tag match and put on an actual entertaining segment for 20 plus minutes? Because here's the unfortunate thing, Brian, like, and it's because in this business, people's times are going to get cut. It's just going to happen because you have to go with the hot commodity, and the hot commodity right now is The Rock. And I get it. Like, trust me, I would love for there to be a world to where we can all freaking try to get people time and make people special, but it just doesn't work that way, right? Like, The Rock is here because Triple H and this company fucked up, because this entire build with Cody versus Roman has been shit, and this dude has to come in here and sell also this match between Cody and Roman on top of this tag match. It's just because that's the hole that WWE has put themselves into. So with that whole profanity stuff, man, it's just like get the fuck out of here.
Let me speak on that too, man.
I'll get to your thoughts in just a second. Let me wrap this up. But so I mean, Cody, it was a good promo. Yeah, nothing more and nothing less, man. You know, he said, he talked about The Rock having little dick syndrome. I thought that was kind of pretty. That was a cool little dagger there. But outside of that, it's pretty much the same insults that The Rock has already portrayed to Cody already. Just a rearranging of words. So people say like, oh, he roasted him. He cooked The Rock. I'm just, guys, what, like, it was a good promo.
I gotta say too, like, these are also the same people that think like, I don't know, Lil Yachty is the greatest rapper of all time. Like, what the fuck? Okay.
It's just like, guys, like, why can't something just be good or decent? We blow things so out of fucking proportion. It's ridiculous, man. But look, man, Cody Rhodes, again, this type of Cody Rhodes, I'll finish it with this. This type of Cody Rhodes is best for all of us in the long run. Getting rid of that smile, getting rid of the crying, getting rid of the catchphrase, what do you want to talk about, and all this freaking BS. It's time for you to get serious. He's even said it himself. I'm tired of playing nice. Well, that's how you portray yourself. You're done playing nice. You have the serious face. Listen, if you want to put on the 5-piece suit and portray yourself as like this dark entity and put on a dark suit, then fine. I'd rather you not have the 5-piece suit. Again, I can go on for hours talking about that. But look, man, this type of Cody Rhodes moving forward is what's best for a lot of people. Sure. Because you can only do so much with the whole, what do you want to talk about, Raleigh? Or what do you want to talk about freaking San Antonio? Or what do you want to talk about Miami, Florida? Like this, like enough. Like the bloodline you're trying to tell this story for 2+ years to where the bloodline has screwed you over. They screwed you over at WrestleMania 39. You're trying to itch your way back to the title. You're trying to win this title, maybe not for your dad, but for your mother, Michelle Rubio. It's time for you to sell yourself and to get amplified, because you can only do so much with just your shtick. There's only so much that Seth Rollins can do when he comes out and says, I'm a visionary, I'm a revolutionary, I'm a whatever the fuck ever. Like, it's just, you can only do so much with that, man. But The Rock, he puts you on this journey, right? And he always goes back to that little detail that's the main focal point of that story that he's telling, which is with Cody and how he's going to whip the shit out of his belt. I'm going to whip you like a freaking dog, right? And hand this belt over to your mom and say, what can I say? And accept you're welcome.
I mean,
and I'll end
dude,
it with that, man. Brian, your thoughts in regards to it, man. Your thoughts.
So this is back to what I said earlier with like, the Gen X attitude era being timeless. Is that so? I'm glad you mentioned that the cussing part, because yes, we know for years they were in the PG era and whatever, and you couldn't say things, on TV. I think especially with this deal with Netflix, I'm telling y'all, people, and the stuff Drew's even doing with his social media, you're going to start to see more of this develop and evolve.
Right.
And I would say that, yes, if there is something in place right now that where, yeah, The Rock can cuss and say whatever he wants, but then nobody else can. Well, yes, that does handicap the wrestlers. And I think it's time for us all to be fucking adults again and say, hey, we know what's overboard and what's not. You want to say an asshole or a fuck you or a bitch or whatever, like, because it makes it real. It makes it
like as a wrestler, like you're so offended of like, oh, The Rock is using profanity. He's like, there's like, what can we do? Well, go on social media, do what he's doing, sell yourself, man. You can say fuck and bitch and whatever you want. Like, why is The Rock as a part-timer doing more than you as a full-time fucking wrestler? Like, that's my frustration.
So that I'll say, I don't know what the because of course, I mean, we've seen it numerous times with wrestlers and what they're allowed to do with their social medias, and people have gotten fired over it and whatever. But
yeah,
I think at least as far as profanity or language, come on, man, let's fucking grow up. And
seriously, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So that's what I mean about it being timeless. And that's why, like, for somebody like me, like the PG era was so horrible, is because it was the Fruity Pebble John Cena, like, I'm gonna beat your butt because I'm the good. It's just, nobody would do that in real life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if there's a real,
especially for a grown-ass man, like saying like that, right, talking like a toddler, because he's trying to also, because I know WWE is lately, they try to portray more of like kid-friendly type of stuff, so they try not, especially during the PG era. Maybe we could slightly go in a different direction, like you said, with the Netflix deal, but yeah, so who knows with that.
So
but
that's my deal with that, is like, yes, let these wrestlers, like, if there are restrictions to that, I don't know how you manage that, but you got to lift that and let them tell the story like you would in real life. Like, if this isn't, you're trying to sell that this is a fight between Cody and Roman and the bloodline and all history, 2 years, right? And you're going to tell me, like, if this was you in a real life thing, that you're not going to be dropping F-bombs or like, you're going to, again, with like the Fruity Pebble shit, like, no, you're not. That's what makes it good. That's what resonates and makes you feel, man. Like,
yes.
So I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm not one that's ever been like big on language, like language or words, and you fill them in with intent on what you mean. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I have no issues with language at all. But yeah, I would say if it's only The Rock that can do it, then yes, it does hinder the rest of the people telling the story.
Yeah.
But if it's not, then
because I don't think that's the case at all. Like, what's stopping these wrestlers from going on social media? Because Drew's doing it. Drew's selling himself tremendously. Like, The Rock is doing it. Like, why can't these other wrestlers sell themselves? They feel like they're at a disadvantage. It's just like, dude, like, freaking sell yourself. Like, let's see what you got. You know what I mean? It's just, you don't have to rely on just WWE TV and like the WWE, the bubble and all that, and the nostalgic and everything. Like, sell yourself, go on social media and sell your character, sell your story. The Rock and Drew, as of right now, are doing that better than anybody right now.
And they are the best selling.
They are legit selling WrestleMania better than anybody on this freaking roster right now.
100%.
And I'm talking anybody. But that's also unfortunate. Like, you got The Rock who is here for a good time, not a long time.
We hope a little bit. I hope.
And hopefully,
at least right
after
out the
Mania.
year. At least throughout the year, man.
At least throughout the year after Mania, we'll see. But he's here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah.
But then you have Drew, who's your only other, full-time wrestler that's doing the extra mile. And that's what's frustrating. But yet you have people like, and listen, the whole video game shtick of up, up, down, down. Like you have these people like going on YouTube and doing these fucking.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of commitments. I'm not, and a lot of different things. And
that's fine. Like, you don't even have to go like 20 plus minutes. Like, cut a like 5-10 minutes. I'm pretty sure these wrestlers, these independent contractors, have at least 5 to 10 minutes out of their day to do something like that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So,
shout out to Drew, man.
Shout out to Drew. He's been tremendous, man. He truly has, and hopefully, he wins that title. And like I said, who knows? Because Punk is also coming to Monday Night Raw because they're going to be in Chicago next week. So I'm sure Drew is going to be a part of whatever CM Punk is going to do. But yeah, man, in regards to it. By the way, this is to all the wrestlers. If you don't like The Rock using profanity, this is what The Rock wanted me to tell you guys here.
Regardless whether you like it or you don't like it, you love it, you hate it, one thing for damn sure, you are gonna respect it.
Yes.
That's right. Respect it.
Shout out to you pointing out, like, I haven't even thought about it in this way, but you're right, man. I mean, Drew and The Rock are selling WrestleMania more than anybody else.
Yes.
100%.
It's evident, man. The proof is in the pudding of what we see. And that's it, man. And hopefully, wrestlers can take this and learn and maybe say, oh, snap, like not only is The Rock doing it, but Drew's doing it. And maybe that can also, freaking people can see that and they can add that into the repertoire. But
I'll even say this, and people will start to bitch about it, I'm sure. If you go back to like when the original NWO started, right? Like when it was just Hall, Nash, and Hogan.
Yeah.
They were always cutting little like fucking, I mean, it wasn't like, obviously they weren't doing it on the phones, but that's what they did. It was all these like, they're in like a parking lot in a fucking alley or some shit,
Dude, the Briscoes, when they cut their promos from their home, dude, like, come on, man. Come on. It's like, it takes a couple minutes. It's not that hard, man.
Yep.
It's not that hard, but yeah, we want to go on social media and do everything else. And that's fine to a degree, but I'm sure you have at least 5 minutes out of your day to whatever you're involved in storytelling wise or character wise. Sell your story, sell your character, right? You can do without all that other shit. Freaking going on Instagram, showing off your outfits and with your best buddies and all that stuff, play your video games. That's fine. Because Undertaker has said that many a times in regards to just like the locker room and how there's like not a lot of urgency and there's not a lot of like, like everybody's really laid back a lot, maybe too much to it. And again, that's Undertaker's words, not mine.
It's always a fine line it's a fine line to draw. And I mean, Undertaker did come from a time where they were fighting to stay a company. Whereas now, there's I think that's just human. That's not an individual knock on anybody. And I'm sure they have a drive. But when you now are a $1 billion global entity, like you're gonna be all right.
Exactly. So before we get into AEW, man, I do want to mention this just real quickly. I'll try to make this as short as quick as I can. With money, just this show overall, man, because I stated it just from the start of the show. This was a mixed bag, right? There was a mixed bag. You had the contract signing, you had the promo from Cody, and there's a lot of good stuff. But the flow of the show, the consistency of the show is just not there because you have stuff like the New Day and frickin' who they fought, Otis and frickin' Tozawa. So where like the flow of the show, it just everything just like momentum just comes to a screeching halt, right? You have stuff like DIY and the Creed Brothers. The Creed Brothers just come back out of fucking nowhere. And they're in a qualifying match to be in a 6-pack ladder match. Like little things like that, man.
I know sorry to cut you off. No. The Creed Brothers, bro. Like, I just can't stress enough, like, talented and athletic is all fucking get out. But Jesus Christ, with everything that they do in the ring and are capable of, if you don't change that goddamn finisher, what the fuck, man?
Right. But to end this, man, it's just like there's a lot of filler. A lot of filler that just nothing seems to really flow. And I think the only saving grace for Raw to be that consistent flowing show, we got to cut this show back to 2 hours. We have to. Are they going to do that? Probably not. And who knows? Maybe the Netflix deal. I mean, maybe that could. Who knows? But like Brian, you see these little things in regards to, and Candace. We'll see where Candace and everything, and with her and Indy Hartwell goes. I mean, I'm holding out hope with that. It's not like it's nothing anything.
I don't have
crazy
faith
right
in
now
that at all, man. I mean,
no, it's exactly. It's just, but then you have all these other filler type of matches like Dominic and Ricochet. What the fuck did that do? You have these other matches like DIY and the Creed brothers. Like we blew this match out of proportion. Like Michael Cole and Pat McAfee are going like nuts. Like this is like a WrestleMania match, and like the freaking DIY is about to win the tag titles against the Judgment Day or something.
Yeah,
and it's just a qualifying match. And listen, I get passion, right? I get passion. You got to sell the match, but it's like we gotta know what we're dealing with here. Like the realism of
things where it gets awkward. I can't quite explain it, but like when when you see somebody like like okay, something's average, but you try and act like it's way up here, and that's
it's
an awkward moment where like. All right,
it's really not. It's just it is what it is, which is just a decent match between two faces. It's just just like any other tag match. But there's just there's just too much filler, and it doesn't do a whole lot for a lot of these wrestlers. And if that's the case, man, because if you're not getting out of this extra hour, then you got to cut it to 2. And I know that's unfortunate because you're taking TV time away, but I mean, would you rather have them go out there and get zero reaction and benefit nothing due to the story, their character? Or would you rather maybe say, hey, we're going to cut your time off to work on your character, to work on the story that we're going to portray you in, right? Take you behind the scenes. Like, I'd rather you do that, right? Than have them go out there in a meaningless match for 5+ minutes.
Right.
That's it. Like that benefits nothing, and it's nothing just to fill up the show, and you can tell that it just fills up the show because it accomplishes nothing. Yeah. So they got to get rid of that 3rd hour. That's the only way that Raw can maybe gain some viewership back, to where you cut that 3rd hour, you bring it back to 2 hours, and you go from there. Are they going to do it? Probably not. I don't think freaking WWE has the balls to do that. I think they have this 3rd extra hour. Again, we talk about the money in this company, the finances. So if they could still push this to 3 hours, they're going to do that. I don't see them changing anything anytime soon. It's just unfortunate that the quality of the show, the consistent flow of the show, is just not there with all of this extra filler that doesn't accomplish anything for the Creed brothers, the DIYs, right? Freaking Shayna Baszler and Zoe Starks, right? All of these other people, it's not benefiting them just to be in a segment for maybe 5 to 10 minutes that doesn't accomplish anything. So if I can find one saving grace, Brian, it's that cut Monday Night Raw to back to 2 hours. So what do you think, man, in regards before we get to AEW?
I mean, well, just for an old man like myself, I mean, shit, I'd rather go to bed at 10 than 11.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, if and it's hard. I don't know all the ins and outs and the whatever of the business side, but you're right. Sometimes it is just filler, and it brings the show to a halt, and doesn't really accomplish anything.
Yeah.
Other, yes, you see people out there, and of course, the more you see something, the more you're going to respond and react, or at least become familiar with it.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I mean, I would much prefer a 2-hour show that's, got storylines and action and meaningful shit all the way through than a 3-hour show that's 50-50.
Yeah. Because listen, I get it. Like we want to give wrestlers opportunities. We want to give them that TV time to maybe showcase themselves. But I mean, guys, like, there's people who are going to get the time, and then there's people who are not going to. There's people that should be on TV, and then there's people who just shouldn't be on TV. That's just the reality of it.
For sure.
And that's what people just need to realize. It's like, I get it. You want to give people opportunities. You want to give people TV time, but their character and their crowd reactions and their connections doesn't say otherwise, that they should be on TV.
Right.
And it's not benefiting them just throwing them out there and say, hey, go wrestle frickin' Ricochet for 10 minutes, or go have a squash match for the 10,000th time and have no reaction because we haven't evolved into an extra layer of it. It just doesn't make sense to continue this 3-hour stuff, but they're probably going to continue to do it. And that's just my 2 cents about bringing Raw back to 2 hours, because it just makes sense of the consistent flow of the show. So mixed bag overall with the show. Again, we got another 2 weeks left. They got a big show next week at Chicago. Punk's going to be back. So we'll see how that goes for next week. And we'll talk about that next week as well. But let's get into AEW. We won't try to harp too much about AEW. We're going to recap AEW Dynamite just from last night. So just to kind of recap this show, man. And the first thing I'll mention to Brian is that, you see Okada, Mercedes, and Ospreay. They're now these 3 major signees, right? And they're now starting to be really the main attraction and the main focal points of this show, because I'm sure Tony Khan hears the backlash of like, oh, these people shouldn't be paid this amount of money, or Okada's not this type of talent. He's not a main event or whatever caliber type of a talent, or Will Ospreay is this and Mercedes that. And Tony Khan hears that shit, and he's going to it's like Savan made a good point. It's like freaking this bright, shiny new toy type of syndrome, right? To where it's like, oh, here's our bright, shiny new toys, Ospreay, Mercedes, and Okada. And we've already put a title on Okada. You're probably going to see a title on Mercedes for the TBS title soon. And with Will Ospreay, it wouldn't shock me if he starts to hold on to gold in the near future.
Yep.
So that's the whole spiel of it too, to where that's going to be the main focal point. Like, those are the 3 main stars that you're going to see moving forward, or at least the focal point. It's Ospreay, it's Mercedes, and it's Okada. So Okada won the Continental Classic Championship. So it's interesting how that works. So I guess Eddie Kingston still has his other 2 championships, and I guess he's going to have a match with Mark Briscoe. I mean, look, that whole spiel, and I'll get to your thoughts and everything else, Brian, in just a second. I'll kind of just recap everything. But Okada, man, listen, he's doing this shtick with the Bucks. That could be really good. Do I really need a title right now on the dude? The answer is really no. I don't need a title just to prove that you're a dominant faction because you're holding on to hold this gold. I mean, yeah, to a degree, it looks cool, like you look important, but it's really not needed, especially that you just formed the fucking trio, right? It's very interesting. So, and listen, you can also say too that like Eddie Kingston, since he's won the Continental Classic, hasn't really done. I mean, he's been in good matches with Bryan Danielson and others, and it seems like that's just what Eddie Kingston is just doing right now. He's just going to be that fighting champion and put on those grueling, bloody matches with Bryan Danielson. He's got one coming up with Mark Briscoe coming up. So I don't know. And with Okada, you can say that now that championship feels more prestigious now because he's with the Bucks and he's doing all this stuff. This early in the stages of the formation of this trio, I just don't think it's really needed, especially for how new Okada is to AEW. And now that he's officially all elite and he's officially a part of the brand, I just think it's just way too soon to throw a title on this guy in regards to it. And then you have Mercedes, right? Mercedes went out there. She cut her promo. She talked about how, an opportunity, everything was slipped away from her when she got injured. She's like, listen, I'm not here to build a revolution because I've already done that. I'm here to remind people who the CEO is, and cutting that, again, that heartfelt type of promo in regards to it. You got Julia Hart and Sky Blue involved in all of this. You got Willow and Chris Statlander. You had Willow, who looked like she was about to hit Mercedes with a chair from behind. So you got that whole little moment there. Seeds may be planted there with the feud between those two. But it seems like for now it's going to be Mercedes and Julia Hart and Sky Blue with, Willow and Chris Statlander to kind of be, I guess, the Calgary. As Mercedes is probably going to win this TBS championship whenever that time is. And then Willow is probably going to turn heel with Stokely Hathaway. And that's going to be the big cultivating feud for Mercedes here in AEW. So, but listen, the seeds were planted well with that. Again, man, it's just, this could really help people like a Julia Hart, like a Willow, and even a Chris Statlander, because we've said about this AEW women's division to where outside of Britt, and Tony Storm, there hasn't really been much to really grasp onto. But now with Mercedes, because she can make a fucking broomstick look good, and I'm not talking the wrestling, I'm talking everything. In regards to how she can sell and how she can make her other opponent or her partner in the ring look really, really good. So that could be the case for Willow, because Willow needs that feud, Brian, to where it really adds that extra layer of connection with the audience. So where, we respect Willow. She's a decent talent, but that's really it. There's really not much of a true connection, but maybe after this feud with Mercedes, that can slowly maybe go into a different direction, as well as for Chris Statlander too, because I was kind of baffled how with Jade Cargill, when she was here holding the TBS title, it's just like, okay, we had Chris Statlander just in the snap of a finger, just have an impromptu match, and then boom, the title reign's done. Now I get it, because Jade Cargill's contract or whatever was up and they had to get the title off of her, but still, wish that moment, like, it's Chris Statlander. Like, no offense to her. Like, I'm glad she's done with that alien shtick and she's just her. So, I know how you feel about that too, Brian, as well as like freaking other people, like other weird names that AEW wrestlers portray themselves, like freaking Butcher and the Blade, the Bunny, right? Freaking Big Swole. Do we remember Big Swole, right?
Oh,
freaking, So Mercedes again. So hopefully that momentum just continues with her. Just keep putting that spotlight and that emphasis on her and what she's doing, and just keep that consistency flowing. And then you had this I Quit match between Christian Cage and with Adam Copeland. Decent, really good I Quit match. It's just weird how we put this on Dynamite and not on the fucking pay-per-view. It just is freaking weird. And I'll be honest with you, Brian, I don't even think that this story is even done. I think this is probably still getting that. And that's what's really weird. An I Quit match, right? When you think of I Quit match, Brian, you think that that's like the cultivating moment of a feud to where it's done. Everybody's going to go their separate ways. But in this case, it's like it's just getting started in regards to all of this. And who knows, this could probably lead to, because Ed just stated like he wants to end his wrrestling career teaming with Christian, and that could maybe still be the case.
That's about to happen. Yeah.
That's probably what's about to happen in regards to it. No, freaking Christian is probably going to be on an island of his own. Freaking, Luchasaurus, Nick Wayne's mama, right? They're all going to be, going to be gone. Right. And Christian's got no one to turn to but to Edge, and they're going to be a team once again. And then that's what's going to be the cultivating moment, probably of Edge's wrestling career. Probably for the most part, as they're both not getting any younger, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's just weird how we take stipulations, right? We take street fights and Texas death matches, and we're just using these matches to get to the next step of the story, to where that should be like the final cultivating moment. Isn't it? It's just really weird. I hope I'm not the only one that thinks that, especially for Edge and Christian on Dynamite. Now I get it. It's like, oh, it's to boost the ratings, James. It's obvious. Okay, I get that, dipshit. But comes a time and place to where you got to put these matches on a pay-per-view, and you can't just use an I Quit match to evolve a story. Like,
right.
forget the wrestling. Like, you don't need the wrestling to evolve a story. If you want to do an I Quit match, that's great. Put it on a pay-per-view and make me give a shit about it going into it, and make that stipulation the final moment of the feud, the end of the road. And it's just weird how we're just using that to evolve the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking weird. But yeah, that seems like Edge as TNT champion. I mean, I don't know, man. Is he gonna? I can see him also being in a match with Daniel Garcia. It's like, hey, I owe you one, kid, type of thing. I'm gonna give you another shot at the TNT title. Like, he's gonna be that fighting champion. He's gonna have great wrestling matches with frickin' Suzuki, maybe, or frickin' Trent Beretta, Griff Garrison. Like, I can go down the line, man, until this shtick with Christian continues. And yeah, I don't know, Undisputed Kingdom, maybe. I don't know. With Ward, is Wardlow going to go after another TNT title? I don't fucking know.
I can't even talk about Undisputed Kingdom. What the fuck is this shit?
Like, you and me both, dude. Bro, I don't have a fucking answer for you. I have no freaking words, and I have no fucking answers with that. That's a different discussion for a different day. But Brian, with all that being said, man, your thoughts in regards to Mercedes, Okada, Ospreay, and this I Quit match between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage?
Let me start with Okada, man. Admittedly, I don't watch New Japan all that much. I catch it here and there, so I don't know much about him. I know he's a great wrestler and a star and whatever. My only question, because I did think it's kind of weird and kind of soon, particularly with Eddie, because there's like, I know you're in business and it's business. It's work. But there is animosity, right? And I just don't understand. You finally, have given Kingston this platform, which I feel he's earned, right?
Right.
And he's had it for a little bit, a few months here. I don't know. Just to have Okada come in and I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it. We'll see. I really don't know what to expect from Okada if I'm being honest. But we'll see. As far as the Mercedes stuff, man, look, I love that she's, we talked about it a couple shows ago of like what she's going to be doing first. I think this is perfect, man. Getting back in there and telling the story with Willow. And also, hopefully elevating Sky Blue and Julia Hart, and as well as Chris Statlander. Like, back before she got injured in the TNT title and everything, I was a fan of her. Like, there's some, I didn't, not connecting with like the alien part of it, but like there's something with her that she's good in the ring. I think she can do.
Oh yeah, there's potential.
Like, I think she can help elevate all these ladies. And like I said, finishing that story or continuing that story with Willow. Yeah, I think this is going to be good. So no problems there.
Yeah.
And I got to mention Ospreay here, man. Again, I know him to be, what he can do in the ring is mind-boggling, but I've really been impressed with the last 2 weeks, his promos, man. Like, I didn't know he had that in him. I've really
I've been very impressed with Will Ospreay as of late. I've even seen it even in promos and shticks with Kenny Omega in New Japan. Like, this dude, he can put a storyline on his back if he could. He's that good. He's not just a gymnastic type of athlete. Like, he can spit on the microphone and he can put a storyline on his back and he can do his part for sure.
Yeah, so I've really been impressed with that because I knew we were going to get the great matches and whatever, but what he's done on the mic, man. All right, bruv.
That's right.
He's killing it, man. So shout out to him.
Absolutely.
And yeah, with this I Quit match, man, I agree with you, dude. This is, to me, it's just, again, two Attitude Era guys. Like, I remember these guys debuting with the Brood in fucking, I don't know, 97 or whatever it was.
Shout out to the Brood. Shout out to Gangrel, bro.
And yeah, I'm the same with you, man. Like, this match should have been on a pay-per-view. Like, shout out to both of these men being in that age. That was a good match, man.
Yes,
like
I was gonna say,
damn good match. Shout out to the
Mhm.
crowd in Toronto. Obviously, them being two hometown guys or
hometown,
home country guys.
Which is why I get it. Like, it's in
Right.
Toronto. I get it, but man, still, it's just like, man, a pay-per-view spotlight. Like, that's still the only way. Like, regardless, like whether Toronto, wherever it is, like the pay-per-view, that's the where you get the most eyeballs from. Is
You know
from
what?
the pay-per-view to
This just popped off, man. How long? Do you know how long the contract Copeland signed? How long he signed for? Do you have? I can't really remember.
I'm not sure the exact details. I'm not sure in regards to Adam Copeland's contract.
Because
sure.
here's the thing with like whatever AEW versus WWE, man. Like, first of all, this match, kudos to both of those men. I thought overall it was a good match. I think it at times or towards the end, it ran too long.
Mm-hmm.
But I only think it ran too long because you didn't have that grand state. Like, if this was at a Mania or a Royal Rumble or a Hell in a Cell or whatever, just a pay-per-view, it wouldn't have felt as long as it did. I don't think. I can't quite explain why or how, but it just...
Yeah.
And with these two guys, look, yeah, just a match like that of that caliber is main event pay-per-view worthy. And I don't feel that AEW as a company right now has, I don't know, the foresight, the means, the vision, or I don't know what it is, to give these two guys the story. Like, what they're lacking is like the presentation of it, like, that's what it is. Where these two guys are legends and they've earned that, but it's just not going to come at AEW. So like I was saying, like, full fantasy booking, I fully expect these two guys to team up. They're going to win the titles, and that's how they're going to go out, as they should, I think.
Yeah.
But even in that, I think it would be so much bigger, so much better if both of them went back to WWE as Edge and Christian and won the tag team titles there. It just would mean more. It would be bigger. Yeah. It would be the state, like, because, while we're talking about Roman and Cody and The Rock, like, maybe you couldn't put it to that level, but this is, or should be, kind of like right under that. Like, that's how big this is, with Edge and Christian, like, throughout the history of 20 years, man, and 40 years of friendship. Like, and I just don't think it can achieve that feeling in AEW, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I completely get it. So, by the way, I'm trying to look up Edge's contract, and all I know, at least what I come across, is that it's a full-time contract for multiple years. I don't know what multiple years means. That could be maybe 2. It could be 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine that, especially given his age, probably 2-3 years.
Probably 2 to 3 years, like a multi-year deal. The amount of money he's getting paid, that's another something I gotta figure out.
And that's
as
another
well,
thing too, with, like, and I don't want to make it sound like criticizing wrestlers, because look, these guys both are in their 50s. AEW gives them the opportunity to be at home with their family, still do what they love, but not be on the road 300 days a year. So, I mean, I can't, fault the people that go do this and, it's I mean, if you can go get paid the same or more, right, and work half the dates, what the fuck not?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, for sure. And to kind of finish this off, man, I will say, because AEW, at least in the next couple of weeks, they're going to be in a very tough situation, because you got WrestleMania coming up. There's a lot of talk and there's a lot of eyeballs over in that product. Yeah. So AEW is in a really tough position. But I think with Mercedes, there's at least a saving grace to where there's a lot of talk.
They're going to be able to keep their head above water. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great terminology. It's just, the main focus is just to keep your head above water, at least for the next 2 to 3 weeks in regards to this, in regards to WrestleMania and everything going on, like you said, with Roman, Cody, and everything in WWE. But I will say, man, and again, you guys know how honest I am about not just WWE, but AEW. AEW, as of late, man, has just, ever since Punk left, right? And MJF to a degree. I mean, MJF can only do so much, but AEW has just been, you want to talk about inconsistency. I mean, AEW
losing those two guys was huge. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But now it seems like with Mercedes and, Adam Copeland to a degree, and Ospreay and Okada, if you can make these guys truly the main focal point, right? And truly make these people special and create headlines for these people. If these are your major signees, these are the people that you're rolling with, then it's got to start right now. And as of right now, I think AEW is in a good, maybe not in a good spot, but they're in a good position to where they could eventually have a little bit of consistency, maybe when WrestleMania season is over, in regards to it, because, you got Mercedes in that whole spiel with Julia Hart. I think that's the most intriguing. I'm sure people have been invested with outside of Toni Storm and what she's doing, in quite some time. You've still got this whole Edge and Christian stuff to where there's a lot of connected dots and a lot of moving pieces right now, but there's still some stuff going on over there. You do have Okada and the Bucks. That's interesting. So there's a lot of pieces to where it could be good. It's just like we always say, it just comes down to the consistency of how Tony Khan books these people and the structure of the shows. Because I even said it last week, man, like the limousine shot when Mercedes, as we all assumed it was Mercedes that arrived to the arena, but it's that uncertainty though in the back of your mind. Like, is it Mercedes? Is it maybe freaking, I don't know, some celebrity, freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jay-Z, Beyonce, freaking Meg Thee Stallion? I don't fucking know anybody.
Right.
But it's that, but you're interested. You're like, oh snap, there's a limousine. You don't know who's in there. Love it. Love it. Instead of starting right away with like, oh, it's Wednesday. You know what that means? We get started with a freaking match with Orange Cassidy. And here comes Orange Cassidy with a banger, right? You got Orange Cassidy, his sunglasses, his backpack and all. And we're starting with a banger, right? No, man. No. Do more shit like that last week, please. And that right there, that's an entity to where you can really get people from the jump, can get people interested. And now they have a reason to watch because shoot, who's in this limousine? I don't know who's in it. I got to keep watching. So I love that.
I will say this, man, with AEW being, in a good place and a good, there's bright spots and whatever, assuming MJF is coming back to AEW, which I do think so. Dude, take my money now. Ospreay and MJF in the ring, on the mic. Take my money, bruv. That's and if you put those two guys as your kind of like cornerstone for the next 5-10 years, bro. I mean,
bruv,
possible.
Right? Yeah, and that's interesting too, because you would think when MJF comes back, he's going to be a baby face. And you have Will Ospreay that's also right now portrayed.
Well, I'm
as
not
the
saying
face.
like you bring in right away with Ospreay, but I'm just saying like
down
if you have those two guys, and obviously they're going to cross paths. I mean,
oh, for sure, yeah.
But I'm already anticipating that shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more talks down the road about when MJF is back. You're going to hear,
I hope snap, it's soon, man,
give me freaking Will Ospreay, give me MJF. You're definitely going to hear that for sure. As I'm sure MJF is going to be, for the time being, when he comes back, is going to be a face. So it'll be interesting how they come to face and how they interact and how that starts. So that'll definitely be interesting for sure. But so yeah, man, AEW, their goal, just stay above water. They're in a tough spot with WrestleMania right now, and but there's hope with Ospreay, Mercedes, and with Okada and the Bucks and whatever they're doing. But now you got to keep it going. Like right now, it's good. Right now, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of maybe not steam, but there's just talk in regards to
yeah,
what
it's a
could
lot of
possibly happen.
it's the what if, it's the hope
the what
so.
if. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, and we'll see where we're at in the next couple of weeks when WrestleMania is over to see if all that talk and steam kind of dies down, and AEW just is once again AEW taking their bright, shiny new toys and then just doing absolutely nothing with them until they start. Exactly right. So fingers crossed, man. Fingers freaking crossed, man. But there is, a lot of interesting stuff, both WWE and AEW, of course, with WrestleMania, like I mentioned, with all these people in AEW as well, with WWE and WrestleMania. So we'll see, man. We're going to be here to talk about it.
With Sasha in particular, or Mercedes in particular, man.
Yeah.
I really feel like, because she's going to control her character, and I don't know the contract and whatever, but she's shown us already, like, she is her entity. She is, and she is the boss of that, and she'll walk the fuck out if you're fucking up her shit, man. Like, yeah. So absolutely,
yeah. Which she can freaking do, and she has every right to freaking do that, because again, people, they're independent contractors. Just throwing that out there. So, and I'm going to end it with that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Ruthless Talk. This was our Monday Night Raw review, and I guess you could say our AEW Dynamite review as well. As stay tuned for more of these. Now we'll be moving back to our original schedule, which is doing these recordings, these uploads on Thursday, and then we'll be right back talking SmackDown, as well as we got Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns face to face. So that'll be
one-on-one, maybe
one-on-one finally, and finally it's
spoiler alert, man. It's not going to be what. There's a new Bloodline member. There's gotta be a new Bloodline member. Jacob Fatu.
I was gonna say Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know, because that's the thing too. It's just like because I agree with what you said about Roman retaining, because especially if you want to continue to do Rock and Roman in the future, like for you to just turn and it's just like, okay, now they're off TV. Now you got to drag that along because you already did the turn at Mania. So how much build can you really do once they're back on television? So that's probably the case to where Rock and Roman, at least for now, could potentially still be a duo. And Roman's going to retain that title. He's going to surpass that freaking title reign, Hulk Hogan's title reign. And freaking just like his daddy, for the third time, he's going to try it again. He's going to try to finish the story again. But we'll see. We'll see how that interaction unfolds. It'll be definitely refreshing because it feels like we haven't seen these dudes, at least one-on-one. We've seen them with the addition of Seth and The Rock, but never just the both of them. As I'm sure Bloodline, you got Jimmy and Solo will get involved. You got Paul Heyman probably.
And that's why I say like it's a perfect opportunity to introduce somebody else, because right now technically this person isn't in the Bloodline, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see in regards to him. We'll talk all about that on SmackDown. We'll see how all of that unfolds. Of course, there'll be more stuff with AEW coming up. They got a big pay-per-view, AEW Dynasty, which is at the end of this month. I want to say it's April 21st is the exact date. And we will find some time to talk about that later on down the road. So once again, thank you guys so much for always tuning in. Thank you for listening, for subscribing, for following. Make sure you guys follow us. You see the banner down below on Instagram and TikTok. That is Ruthless_Talk. We are so close. I believe we're like 200 followers away from 1,500 followers on TikTok.
Right,
so
man.
Please make sure you guys spread the word. Thank you guys so much for everybody that does follow us on TikTok. Make sure you spread the word. Get us to 1,500 followers on TikTok. And of course, follow us on Instagram as well. We're getting close to about 1,200 or right around the cusp of 1,200 followers on Instagram as well. So thank you guys, whether you listen to us just on social media, here on Spotify, here on YouTube. Everywhere, man. We want to appreciate your support, and stay tuned as well. We have our WrestleMania Roundtable coming up, which is not this Saturday, but the following Saturday when we talk all about WrestleMania. We got a bunch of content creators that will join us to talk WrestleMania, to talk the match card, to talk about the build, which will be a fun, exciting time. So like I said, it's springtime, lots of stuff going on. You got basketball, you got baseball, but the most important, exciting thing is that it's WrestleMania season. And
this is the best time of year for sports, man. WrestleMania, baseball, and March Madness, bro.
It's the best time, bro. It's the best freaking time to be a sports fan and a wrestling fan. So we got a couple more weeks left, and we will see how everything unfolds. That's going to do it for today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And until next time, there will be a next time. Your boys are signing off saying salute.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody. Toodles! No one will ever change the status.